Hey, welcome to Dispute Tactics Part 1. This is a new video series and I am going to include 4 different parts. Now, tonight we're actually going over the HIPAA process for medical collections because there's so much bad information out there about this. So today you're actually going to learn how to use the HIPAA process for medical collections, the type of case this can be used on, and types of cases where it cannot be used on, the exact step-by-step process to achieve the highest success rates for permanent deletions, and you'll also alleviate all confusion about this process and know exactly what to write and who to write the letters to. Now, if you go to the subscriber hub, you're actually going to get access to all of the letters that I referenced there, okay? And it's totally free. It was just an awesome place to put everything in there, and I will also be adding this video tutorial over in there as well. Now, just so you know, I was actually going to create this as a webcast, but I decided that I wanted to do more than just one dispute letter tactic. So that is why we are breaking it down this way, and it is on YouTube instead of on a like a webinar type of site. So if you want to learn more, you already have the link to access the subscriber hub. But here's the link again. It is vargasrevolution.vipmembervault.com, or if you would rather see if it would be a good fit for me to actually take over your credit sweep and do it for you, you can access that link to schedule a call with me one-on-one at vcita.com/expert credit sweep. So let's jump right into this. Now, there are some important things to know before we ever start this, okay? So number one, the only account type this actually applies to, and so many people don't know this, this applies to medical collections only, right? That was kind of a given. And in cases where the consumer either already has or is willing and able to make payment in full to the creditor, okay? And if you actually perform this as a service, or you charge like for writing letters, or you consider yourself a company, this is something you're actually going to have to charge more for because it costs more, right? So this process is super time consuming and costly. So just be sure to charge accordingly for your services that you will provide. All right. So this process has several steps, none of which can be skipped. So when this is not applicable is going to be if the collector has been paid. This tactic cannot be used. All right. So HIPAA, and it is spelled with 1 P and 2 A's, not 2 P's and 1 A. And I did find a typo in my own video, believe it or not. So the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996 was enacted to implement safeguards to protect the security and confidentiality of health records, right? So there are multiple steps to this. So the process has several steps and they can be very confusing at times. So it's imperative to understand the foundation for using the HIPAA process prior to starting. Now, there's something called the privacy rule, and it's contained in HIPAA and prohibits a covered entity from using or disclosing an individual's protected health information, or PHI, unless authorized by the individual or otherwise allowed, okay? Now, specific verbiage for PHI. Now, I include a lot of information, and I really don't feel like reading all of this because it's like meaning like out loud to you, because it's kind of like textbooky. So if you pause this here and go to the subscriber hub and download either the PDF version of this, or you can download the PowerPoint version of this just to give you other avenues of, like a different medium. You can go and pull up your own version, or you can do this after the video. It's completely up to you, or do nothing. Totally your deal. And this will make it easier to follow along with me, or just look at the screen, okay? So PHI encompasses substantially all individually identifiable health information, and we're talking about stuff that is transmitted or maintained in any medium, and this actually includes credit reporting, right? So individually identifiable health information includes health information that is created or received by a healthcare provider, health plan, employer, or healthcare clearinghouse, and that relates to an individual's physical or mental health condition. Individuals, I think I typed that twice. Anyways, including information related to an individual's care or the payment for such care. So as indicated above, the payment for such care is covered as PHI, right? Keep that in mind, because what is a credit report? It's information related to the payment of such care, okay, in relation to your account. So the privacy rule allows a covered entity to use or disclose an individual's PHI without the individual authorization as necessary for treatment. There's the word payment again, or healthcare operations, all of which are broadly defined. Okay. That is so, so, so important. Now, you also need to understand that they are required to take reasonable measures to limit the use of this, right? And you can read this on your own. It's kind of like the little bit boring stuff, but there's many other aspects of HIPAA that are important for general protection, but for the purpose of credit repair, the above are the sections that apply, such as what or who a business associate is. And a business associate, the important part here, let me just find it. Do, 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 do. Covered entities may use or share only the minimum amount of protected information needed for a particular use. So I guess the credit bureaus are considered business associates in this reference here. So here's a reminder. The FACTA regulations require CRAs, or credit reporting agencies, to conduct an investigation for all consumer disputes. When a consumer contacts a collection agency for debt validation, the collection agency must obtain supporting documentation from the original creditor to validate the debt, right? So when we put all these pieces together, these are the things that you get. This is the puzzle. The HIPAA approach is designed to utilize the protection that is afforded individuals for privacy in medical records, right? Healthcare providers, number one, have a duty to protect consumers' PHI, and number two, can only share PHI for permissible purposes. So if a debt is owed, there is a permissible purpose for a collection agency to have knowledge of the debt, right? Now, here's an important part. Once the debt is paid in full to the original creditor has no right to share any information about the debt to a third-party collector, because they no longer have a business purpose in relation to the information on the previous slide. Okay, so go back and read that. FACTA, number one, requires the credit reporting agencies to conduct an investigation for any disputed items. When a dispute is initiated, the collection agency is required to prove that the debt is valid and that they have a business purpose to report the debt. HIPAA states that once the collection agency has completed their task as the business associate of the healthcare provider, they no longer have a business purpose to your PHI. This is like the most important slide here, okay? So violating HIPAA. So if the original creditor provides the collection agency with info related to the debt after it is paid in full, the original creditor will be violating HIPAA. Okay. Violations of HIPAA are enforced through a complaint process that will be detailed in a few moments. And to successfully complete this process, each step must be fully carried out. It is important to understand the puzzle along with each element of it. All right. Remember, unpaid collections can be reported because the collection agency has a legitimate business purpose to collect. Okay. Now, if you go back a couple of videos, I was saying how stupid it sounds with these people in these videos, and I specifically could point them out, but I'm not going to, where they were saying that if there is a HIPAA violation that you don't have to pay the account. No, you actually have to pay it for there to be a HIPAA violation. You get what I'm saying? You actually have to go through this process, and these things just don't come off, and so on and so forth. So this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this, because all this information is so bad, and it is filling people's heads with this bad information. And, you're going on your merry way thinking that whatever. So here is the real deal, right? So the process is very detailed, and these are the steps for the HIPAA process itself. And then, like I said, you have to follow this to a T. Step number one, you need to opt out. Credit reports. This will eliminate the selling of the client's personal data for pre-screened offers. You need to go to optoutprescreen.com. So all creditors. This prevents collection agencies and junk debt buyers from buying and selling debts that are not legitimate. All right. So this is a creditor opt-out form, and you will also be able to access this in the subscriber hub. It is literally named creditor opt-out form, so you can't miss it. You're actually going to send this to all of the creditors. Step number 2 is updating personal information, okay? And this is pretty straightforward. You are going to request deletion of all incorrect or outdated information, name variations, residence information, date of birth discrepancies, SSN errors, employment data, so on and so forth, okay? And step number 3 is the initial medical dispute letter. And yes, go and access it. It is literally named the initial medical dispute letter, okay? So you're going to send this letter to the credit reporting agencies, and it should be sent certified mail in a hand-addressed envelope. Now, if the response from the credit reporting agency reflects a deletion, then this process stops here. You do not have to go any further. Now, this is actually what it would look like, and yes, you can go and see the exact same thing in the subscriber hub, all right? Okay, so you need to send the appropriate HIPAA letter to the appropriate party. So if verified by the CRA, then you need to do the following. Okay, HIPAA letter 2 for use, let's go to step number 2. HIPAA letter 1 for use when the payment is due. HIPAA letter 2 for use when the account is not the consumer's, a billing error, or was paid by an insurance company. And HIPAA letter 3 for use when the account is already paid to the healthcare provider. You need to send, of course, certified mail with return receipt. Now, if the account is unpaid, you need to send letter 1 and pay with a cashier's check to the original healthcare provider, okay? Otherwise, again, this is not going to work. So this is very, 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 very important. The cashier's check must be rendered for the exact amount that is due, and the back of the check must contain a restrictive endorsement like this: for deposit only into the account of Dr. So-and-so or hospital name. Now, where to find the letters? We've already gone over this, but the link is directly at fargusrevolution.vipmembervault.com, and you are looking for the subscriber hub, and it is going to be module number 1. All right, so the HIPAA follow-up letter to the CRA. So confirmation. Once you receive confirmation that the first letter has been received by the original creditor, send the follow-up dispute letter below to the CRA via certified mail with a return receipt. Step number 1, make sure that your money order has been deposited or that you have received a return receipt from your letter if letter 2 or 3 was used. Step number 2 is to send the HIPAA follow-up letter to the CRA. Step number 3, send a copy of the follow-up letter to the healthcare provider's legal department with the corresponding cover letter. Do not, under any circumstances, write or correspond with the collection agency regarding this matter. So this can actually, if the correspondence or communication is initiated by the consumer, it can impede or hinder a future cause of action, all right? So use this letter to notify the agency that the debt is beyond the statute of limitations or is invalid for other reasons and subject to HIPAA privacy laws. Keep a copy for your files because you will need in step number 10, and send the letter registered mail return receipt requested. Okay, so note, the collection agency most likely has no liability or violation of HIPAA, all right? They are not the healthcare provider, so they are usually not liable. They can be named in complaints, but more than likely, they're not going to have any actionable offenses, all right? Note that you'll find in the subscriber hub the first couple of letters plus HIPAA follow-up letter to the CRA, as well as step number 6, HIPAA medical validation letter to collection agency, step number 7, second CRA follow-up, step number 8, HIPAA non-compliance, not non-compliance, and improper validation letters, and step number 9, final notice of complaint to healthcare provider, and I missed one. Step number 10, a sample complaint. Okay. So steps 6 through 10. So step number 6 is if the CRA verifies, then send this letter to the collection agency certified mail. Do not call them. And that's the HIPAA medical validation letter to collection agency. Step number 7, send the CRA follow-up letter. So after you receive confirmation that the validation letter has been received by the collection agency, you're going to mail the second follow-up to the CRA certified mail. Now, on step number 8, which is the HIPAA non-compliance and improper validation letters, if the CRA verifies that the paid collection, but the collection agency did not respond or provide an accurate and complete validation, send the 3 letters included in this step to the proper parties. And step number 9 is the final notice of complaint to healthcare providers. If successful deletion has not been accomplished, send this letter to the healthcare provider. And step number 10 is to actually file the complaint. Now, why does all this have to be done before you ever file a complaint? Well, you have to, number one, prove that you exhausted all of your remedies. And number two, this goes for any type of complaint. Like, before you ever make a complaint with the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, you have to, number one, exhaust all your remedies. Number two, you have to prove violations. Number three, you have to have so many rounds of disputes proving that you literally tried to do everything available to you prior to going to that government agency, right? I mean, they are no joke. And if you prove that you are a joke, they're not going to take you seriously at all. And they're just basically going to, hit delete. You do not want that to happen. Everything has a process. This is a system. Like, that's how systems work. The credit reporting system, the disputing system, the system to write a complaint for a HIPAA violation. Like, you have to do all of these letters and wait all this time and do all of these required steps before you ever file a complaint. You get what I'm saying? So don't ever believe it when someone's telling you otherwise, because they are nothing other than full of crap, okay? This is how you get results. So number 10 is to file a complaint, okay? So obviously the only thing left to do at this stage is to file the complaint. Now, there are certain requirements that need to be met, like the way that you write it. You can check this out on your own, such as it has to be done within 180 days of when you knew the act or omission of the complained of occurred. So go and check this slide out yourself. We're going to move right on, and your complaint is going to be made with the Office of Civil Rights, I believe it was. So now we get to the sample complaint in conclusion, and you can find this sample HIPAA complaint as the last letter on the subscribers hub. Okay, and it is very, very simple, and it goes over the requirements on the previous slide. So again, this process only works for paid collections or accounts that your client is willing and able to pay in full. Do not start until they commit to full payment, because otherwise you are going to be wasting your time, you're going to waste your patience, and you are going to get super frustrated with them, okay? So don't do it until you know that they either paid or are totally committed to fully paying, okay? Now, your next steps at this point, you can, as I've mentioned 5 times now, get all the resources for free in the subscriber hub. All right. Now, it wouldn't fit the .com, but vargasrevolution.vip, membervault.com. Number 2, I have almost 500 videos and tutorials right here on YouTube at youtube.com/expertcreditsweeps, where you can learn how to write factual based disputes and actually, make sense of this and get your results. Okay. And there is no easy way to do this. I don't teach you the hard way, but there is no way to do this overnight and to make it easy and unicorns and rainbows. Like, I show you exactly what you need to do in the order you need to do it. And, if you do it the right way and you listen to me, you will get results. It's really simple as that. Now, if you don't want to do this yourself, as I mentioned, you can get your one-to-one credit sweep service consultation at vcita.com/expertcreditsweeps. So in other words, that is for me to take over your file and do the credit sweep for you. It is not for business purposes. It is not for software. It is not for free advice. It's not for any of that stuff. It is only for me to take over your file for you. And number 4 is get your results. Okay? Either yourself or me doing it for you. It's really, really simple. You have access to every single thing that you could possibly need to do this. All right? So right now, what I want you to do, if you haven't done so already, is go check out the member vault and access those letters. And I'm going to put this video directly over in there by tomorrow morning. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and make sure that you subscribe so that you know, and hit the bell for notifications so that you know when parts 2, 3, and 4, as well as my bonus, come out for the dispute tactics series. So I'm going to be doing that 4 video series for free, and then I'm going to do a semi masterclass off of YouTube, and it will not be free, but these 4 videos will be. So be on the lookout for the other 3. I hope you have a great week and be safe.